The story is about a hardcore gamer boy who gets reincarnated into his favorite game as the overpowered main character. He ends up building his own harem even though he doesn't even have a sword, if you know what I mean. One bright morning, Arky wakes up and finds himself sleeping out in the open. He almost pisses himself after noticing that he is wearing a strange golden armor. Not wanting to wet his pants, he calms down and takes a closer look. That's when he realizes the armor looks exactly like the one worn by his favorite game character. It is the legendary holy armor of Belarus. The armor grants resistance to fire and light attacks. It also comes with a magical cloak that provides mana regeneration and resistance to dark magic. On his back is a massive claymore infused with the power of thunder. For defense, he also carries an unbreakable shield. With his so-called 500 IQ brain, Arky quickly figures out what is happening. He has been reincarnated into the very game he was playing last night. Still, he wants proof that this isn't just some weird dream. To test things out, he swings his claymore and activates one of his special skills, instantly slicing through several trees. After brutally murdering a bunch of innocent trees, he tries casting fire magic from his hands. Surprisingly, it works. This confuses him. In the game, his main character was a holy knight who couldn't use magic at all. Then he remembers that he also had a support mage character, but even that character couldn't use fire magic. After thinking for a moment, he finally realizes the truth. He has inherited the abilities of every character from his account, making him ridiculously overpowered. Feeling hungry, Arky decides to use teleportation magic to visit the nearest KFC and grab some chicken nuggets. Unfortunately, he has no idea how the spell works. Instead of traveling across the world, he teleports only 2 steps forward and immediately falls off a cliff. After a painful landing, he discovers that teleportation only works for places he has already visited. Since he can't fly yet, he comes up with another solution. He repeatedly uses a short-range teleportation skill to launch himself through the air and move forward at high speed. Later, he stops by a river to admire his handsome face. However, when he looks into the water, he nearly has a heart attack. He looks ugly as hell. That's when he remembers that he had chosen a skeleton avatar in the game. Realizing this could become a huge problem, he decides to keep his helmet on at all times and heads toward the nearest town. As soon as he enters the town, a fruit seller warmly asks him to buy some fruit. Sadly, she soon discovers that this mighty-looking knight is completely broke. Arky realizes that he needs to make money quickly. As he walks deeper into the town, he passes through a narrow alley and overhears a conversation between a young girl and a suspicious-looking man. From their conversation, Arky learns that the girl had hired the man to investigate something important. However, the man had done absolutely nothing and was still demanding payment for his hard work. Arky decides that their personal problems are none of his business and continues on his way. Soon, he arrives at the Adventurers Guild and applies for a mercenary license. The guild master immediately becomes suspicious. Arky already looks like a wealthy knight, so there seems to be no reason for him to become a mercenary. Realizing that drawing attention to himself could be dangerous, Arky quickly comes up with an excuse. He claims that he is on a special mission and needs a mercenary license as soon as possible. The guild master accepts the explanation but asks for proof of his abilities. To earn the license, Arky must defeat any 3 targets, such as wild boars, bandits, or monsters. Arky heads out and easily captures 2 wild boars. They are so weak that they barely put up a fight. Just as he is about to leave, a low-level orc suddenly appears before him like some kind of final boss. Unfortunately for the orc, it picked the wrong opponent. Arky swings his sword once and cuts the monster down instantly. On his way back, he spots a group of bandits attacking a carriage. As he gets closer, he notices that the bandits are also harassing 2 women. One of them turns out to be Princess Lauren of the royal family. Arky cannot simply stand by and watch. At the end of the day, he is still just a gamer who hates seeing innocent people suffer. Without hesitation, he charges forward and attacks the bandits. Several of them try to fight back, but none can withstand the power of his sword. One after another, they are defeated. After dealing with the filthy bandits, Arky reassures the princess that she is safe. When Princess Lauren asks who he is, Arky chooses to remain silent. Revealing his identity could create unnecessary problems, so he simply ignores the question. As the princess and her companions move away, Arky quickly helps himself to the bandits' horses and all the loot they had stolen. A reward is a reward after all. Princess Lauren's maid, Rita, thanks him for saving them. However, Arky notices something strange. Lauren keeps staring at him as if she wants to devour him on the spot. When Rita asks for his name, Arky quickly makes one up and introduces himself as Arky. Soon afterward, he returns to the guild with proof of all 3 completed tasks. The guild master is shocked by how quickly he finished them. However, he is also confused. Arky had brought back the orc's body but had forgotten to remove its magic stone. Magic stones are valuable materials used to create weapons, armor, and many other items. Of course, Arky has no idea about any of this. After receiving his mercenary license, Arky heads straight to a restaurant and stuffs himself with as much food as possible. For the first time since arriving in this world, he finally enjoys a proper meal. But now a new feeling begins to grow inside him: greed. mind. He wants more money, more rewards, and more magic cores. The next morning, Archie returns to the guild and looks for another quest. Surprisingly, he chooses a simple low-paying job instead of a dangerous high-ranking mission. The task is to act as a bodyguard while someone gathers medicinal herbs. Archie mainly chooses this quest because he wants to keep a low profile. The less attention he attracts, the safer he will be. Following the directions, he travels to a small village and arrives at a humble little hut. There, he meets a young girl named Lena. To his surprise, Lena is the one who posted the request. She is kind-hearted and polite, but also confused. Looking at Archie's expensive armor and powerful appearance, she cannot understand why someone like him would accept such a simple job. As they walk toward the forest, Lena explains her situation. Not long ago, she lost her father. Since then, all the responsibility for supporting the family has fallen onto her mother. Every day, her mother works tirelessly collecting medicinal herbs to earn enough money for them to survive. Lena hates seeing her mother exhaust herself like this. Even though she is still young, she wants to help in any way she can. Hearing her story, Archie feels a little sympathy for the girl as they continue deeper into the forest together. As they continue deeper into the forest, Lena notices a patch of beautiful flowers. These special flowers are known for curing skin diseases, and when burned, they also work as a natural insect repellent. While Lena is collecting the flowers, Archie suddenly spots a baby nine-tailed fox hiding nearby. The little fox is badly injured. Feeling sorry for her, Archie carefully picks her up and uses his healing magic. The wounds quickly disappear, and the fox immediately becomes attached to him. It seems she wants to follow Archie on his journey from now on. Using his legendary 500 IQ, Archie thinks of the perfect name for his new companion. Out of all the possible names in the world, he decides to call her Panta. As they move even deeper into the forest, they finally discover the kaboom tree standing in the middle of the dense woodland. The giant white tree looks beautiful and almost magical. Lena becomes excited and runs down a slope toward it. However, Archie and Panta suddenly sense something dangerous hiding behind the massive tree. Before they can warn her, a monster steps out from the shadows. The creature looks like it had a T-Rex for a father and a giant frog for a mother. To make things even stranger, the monster suddenly shoots out its long tongue and snatches a bird right out of the air. Panta immediately begins growling at the creature. That is when Archie realizes the truth. This monster is the one that injured Panta earlier. When the frog Rex suddenly charges toward Lena, Archie instantly uses teleportation magic and pulls her to safety. Now standing face to face with the monster, Archie checks its information. The frog Rex possesses petrification magic, poisonous gas attacks, and claws capable of paralyzing its victims. It is clearly not an ordinary monster. The frog Rex immediately launches a furious assault. Its massive tongue whips through the air while its giant claws slash toward Archie again and again. Archie knows that fighting a monster of this level is dangerous, so he stays alert. Suddenly, the frog Rex begins shaking its head as if it is dancing at a disco party. Moments later, Archie realizes it is casting a petrification spell capable of turning nearby living creatures into stone. Thankfully, Archie raises his holy shield just in time, protecting himself, Lena, and Panta from the attack. The frog Rex then releases a cloud of deadly poisonous gas. This finally starts to annoy Archie. Even so, he is not completely sure whether he can defeat such a powerful monster. Deciding to end the fight quickly, Archie activates one of his strongest sword techniques, Good Judgment. A single slash cuts through the air. The next second, the frog Rex collapses, defeated in one hit. Even Archie is shocked. He knew he was strong, but he did not expect the monster to fall so easily. Lena is overjoyed after witnessing the battle. She excitedly tells Archie that the entire village will celebrate his victory. Unfortunately, those words send a chill down Archie's spine. His main goal is to stay unnoticed, not become a local celebrity. He immediately asks Lena to keep the existence of the frog Rex a secret. On the way back, they come across a giant white boar. Archie hunts it down and gives the meat to the villagers. However, he keeps the valuable fangs and magic stone for himself. After all, a mercenary needs to think about his future. Later, while completing another simple quest, Archie stumbles upon several large bags hidden in a remote area. Inside them are thousands of gold coins. It appears to be stolen treasure that had been hidden away long ago. As Archie stares at the mountain of gold, his eyes nearly pop out of his skull. With this much money, all of his financial problems could disappear in an instant. At the same time, Mariana, the elf girl from before, is heading toward the same cave. As she approaches, she notices Archie coming out of it. Without hesitation, she immediately launches an attack. Ariana mistakes Archie for one of the bandits responsible for kidnapping children. When Archie realizes that she is the same elf girl he saw in the alley earlier, he calmly tries to explain the situation. He tells her that she he has the wrong person and that he is not one of the bandits. Unfortunately, Ariana refuses to believe a single word. Just as the situation is about to escalate, Ponta suddenly pops out from behind Arki. The sight instantly makes Ariana stop. She is shocked to see a spirit beast like a nine-tailed fox standing beside someone she believes to be a criminal. However, when she sees Ponta happily clinging to Arki and rubbing against him affectionately, her suspicion begins to fade. A spirit beast would never trust an evil person so easily. Ariana then explains that the bandits operating in the cave had been kidnapping elves and selling them as slaves for huge profits. Hearing this, Arki finally understands why there were so many cages inside the cave. However, he informs Ariana that the captives are no longer there. Wanting to make a good impression, Arki asks if she needs any help. After all, this is the first elf girl he has ever met, and he would like to become friends with her. Ariana coldly rejects the offer without even thinking about it. The next morning, Arki decides to look for Ariana again. He is not ready to give up on becoming her friend just yet. However, instead of finding Ariana, he discovers the kidnapped elves. Several bandits are guarding them, and among them is a shocking figure, Prince Yudalin of the Kingdom of Doniento. Arki soon learns that Yudalin was also the one behind the attempt to assassinate Princess Lauren. The prince is completely unhinged. Not only does he treat people cruelly, but he also seems to enjoy tormenting the captured elves for his own amusement. Seeing this, Arki decides he can no longer ignore the situation. Just as he prepares to step in, Ariana suddenly appears. With incredible speed and skill, she charges into battle and begins cutting down the bandits one after another. Her swordsmanship is so impressive that the bandits barely have time to react before they are defeated. However, Prince Yudalin is not completely foolish. Realizing that he cannot win through strength, he grabs one of the young elf girls and uses her as a hostage. Ariana immediately freezes. She cannot attack while the child's life is at risk. For the first time, she looks completely helpless. Before the situation can get worse, Arki steps forward. Without any flashy skills or dramatic speeches, he simply throws a powerful punch straight at Yudalin. The prince is sent flying instantly. With the hostage rescued, Arki gives Ariana another chance to finish the fight. Ariana wastes no time. Within moments, the remaining bandits are defeated. After the battle, Ariana once again tells Arki to stay out of her business. She insists that she is a strong and independent woman who does not need anyone's help. Arki simply shrugs. He was never trying to show off. He only wanted to save the children. As Ariana begins checking on the rescued captives, her expression suddenly changes. Around the girls' necks are special mana-draining collars. The moment she sees them, she becomes worried. These collars continuously absorb magical energy, making them extremely difficult to remove. Without proper tools and advanced preparation, trying to force them off could put the girls in danger. For the first time since arriving, even Ariana is not sure what to do next. However, Arki simply casts a basic spell, and the mana-draining collar immediately falls off. Everyone is stunned. After that, Arki heals the injured elf girls with ease. Ariana is especially surprised. She never expected this mysterious knight to remove a cursed collar so effortlessly, let alone use powerful healing magic without any difficulty. Once the girls are safe, Ariana uses a special messenger bird to send a voice message to her people. Before long, two elves arrive to escort the rescued children back home. With the immediate danger gone, Ariana finally breaks her silence. She asks who Arki really is. No ordinary human should be capable of using healing magic, removing cursed collars, and casting the legendary teleportation magic. Arki calmly introduces himself as nothing more than a low-profile wandering mercenary. Since she plans to rescue more elves from the kidnappers, she offers Arki a job as her personal bodyguard. Arki sees no reason to refuse. After all, most men would happily work alongside a beautiful elf woman. So he accepts immediately. Using his teleportation magic, Arki transports them to a forest near the Kingdom of Doniento, the nation believed to be connected to the elf kidnappings. Watching Arki cast such a powerful spell so casually makes Ariana realize once again just how extraordinary he really is. Even so, they decide to travel through the kingdom on foot. Teleporting around in public would only attract unwanted attention. As they move through the kingdom, Ariana explains that they first need to meet her comrade, Damka. Hearing this, Arki becomes excited. Since Ariana is beautiful, he naturally assumes her companion will be just as attractive. Unfortunately for Arki, reality hits him hard. When Damka finally appears, he turns out to be a rough-looking man. Arki is so disappointed that he nearly forgets how to speak. Before he can even say anything, Ariana drags them away to discuss the mission. As they sit down to talk, Arki refuses to eat any of the food offered to him. The real reason is simple. He does not want anyone seeing the handsome skull hidden beneath his helmet and accidentally turning into his enemy. During the meeting, Damka reveals that he has discovered a secret location where more kidnapped elves may be imprisoned. Before they can fully discuss a rescue plan, Arki suddenly remembers something important and leaves with Ponta. After he is gone, Damka questions why Ariana trusts an outsider she met only recently. For the first time, Ariana openly admits the truth. Without Arki's help, she might have been captured by the bandits herself. Meanwhile, Arki spends some of the gold coins he found in the cave. He buys beer, pizza, meat, and fish before hiding in a dark alley to enjoy his feast without attracting attention. Later that night, Arki rejoins Ariana and Damka as they prepare to rescue another group of captive elves. While approaching the hideout, Arki casually uses short-range teleportation magic. This surprises Ariana once again. Until now, she believed Arki could only use large-scale gate teleportation. Ariana carefully tries to squeeze through a small window, but Arki simply teleports directly inside. Watching him bypass the entire problem makes Ariana feel slightly embarrassed and more than a little annoyed. Still, there is no time to argue. The mission comes first. As they move through the building, they discover two unconscious bandits lying on the floor. This immediately tells them that someone else has already infiltrated the hideout before them. Realizing they may not be alone, the group decides to split up. Arki moves through the building by repeatedly using short-range teleportation. This allows him to avoid making footsteps and prevents the enemies from detecting him. Suddenly, a shadow darts toward him. A female ninja launches a surprise attack. Instead of panicking, Arki becomes excited. The mysterious ninja quickly notices Ponta sitting beside him. Seeing the spirit fox, she immediately concludes that Arki is not one of the enemy bandits and assumes he is there to rescue the elves. However, the ninja has a completely different objective. She is searching for something important hidden within the building, but so far, she has been unable to find it. The mysterious ninja tells Ark that she knows where the captive elves are being held. Before leaving, she gives some berries to Ponta and hands several documents to Ark. She also reveals that 2 more elf women are being held inside the king's mansion. Before Ark can ask her any questions, the ninja jumps out of the window and disappears into the night. Ark immediately shows the documents to Ariana and Damka. After reading them, they discover that the papers contain records of elf slave transactions. Even more shocking, one of the buyers listed in the records is the king of Doento himself. The truth leaves everyone furious. However, before dealing with the king, they must first rescue the elves imprisoned beneath the building. The group advances through the hideout. Along the way, Ariana uses her fire magic to burn through the bandits that stand in their path. Soon, they reach the underground prison. Inside, several frightened elf children are locked behind iron bars. Ark steps forward and uses his ridiculous strength to bend the iron bars with his bare hands. The prisoners watch in shock as he tears open an escape route as if the metal were made of paper. Once everyone is free, Ark uses his teleportation magic and instantly transports the entire group out of the town. Outside, he removes the mana-draining collars from the rescued elves with ease. Damka is completely stunned. At this point, he realizes that Ark is far more powerful than he originally thought. Since the rescued children need to be escorted home safely, Damka suggests that he handle that task while Ark and Ariana head to the king's mansion to save the remaining captives. Ark agrees. Looking at the massive royal mansion in the distance, Ark prepares a teleportation spell. Ariana quickly grabs onto him, and moments later, they vanish. Meanwhile, the king of Doento is keeping 2 elf women captive inside his private chambers. Ark and Ariana suddenly burst into the room. Without wasting a second, Ariana charges forward and kicks the king right between the legs before freeing the captive elves. But she is not finished with him yet. After everything he has done, Ariana decides to take out her frustration on the king personally. While she deals with him, Ark discovers a hidden room concealed behind a secret wall. As the rescued elves confront the king for his crimes and Ariana handles the guards, Ark investigates the secret chamber. Inside, he finds stacks of gold bars. A lot of gold bars. Naturally, Ark decides that this treasure deserves a new owner. When Ariana catches him stuffing gold bars into his inventory, she looks at him suspiciously. Thinking quickly, Ark explains that taking the king's wealth will prevent him from funding more bandits and slave traders in the future. The explanation sounds reasonable enough, so Ariana accepts it. Suddenly, a series of explosions rocks the castle. The entire building begins to shake violently. Not wanting to stick around, Ark immediately grabs Ariana, the rescued elves, and as much gold as possible before teleporting outside. With the mission finally complete, Ariana pays Ark a small reward. Compared to the fortune he secretly acquired from the castle, the payment is practically pocket change. Still, Ariana seems troubled. After spending so much time together, she has begun to trust Ark. She wants him to continue traveling with her so they can rescue more elves across the continent. As a result, she invites him to visit her homeland, the elven kingdom of Elenoir. Ark hesitates. He knows that if he travels with her, he will eventually have to reveal what is beneath his helmet. However, he genuinely genuinely wants to continue the journey with Ariana. After a moment of thought, he finally removes his helmet for the first time. The moment Ariana sees a skull instead of a human face, she freezes in shock. Ark has no idea how to explain that he was once a gamer who somehow got reincarnated into this world with an overpowered character build and a supposed 500 IQ. Thankfully, Ariana judges him by his actions rather than his appearance. Although he looks like a demon lord enjoying a vacation, she has seen him rescue innocent people, protect children, and risk himself for others. Ponta's affection for Ark also helps. A spirit fox would never trust someone truly evil. Eventually, Ariana concludes that Ark must be suffering from some kind of curse. She suggests taking him to Elenwar, where the elders may be able to restore him to his original appearance. Ark agrees to let them try. That night, they rest in a nearby cave. The following morning, they arrive at the entrance of the elven kingdom of Elenwar. As Ariana orders the guards to open the gates, Ark becomes excited. For someone who spent years playing fantasy games, finally seeing a real elven kingdom feels like a dream come true. However, entering the kingdom is not that simple. Ariana first goes inside to seek permission from the elders. Ark is forced to wait outside. 1 hour passes, then another. By evening, Ark is exhausted from standing around. Finally, Ariana returns with approval from the elders and escorts him through the gates. As Ark enters Elenwar, he is immediately amazed. The houses are built into giant trees and blend perfectly with the surrounding environment. Unlike human cities filled with stone buildings and crowded streets, the elves live in harmony with nature. Everywhere Ark looks, he sees towering trees, flowing greenery, colorful plants, and beautiful forests stretching into the distance. For the first time since arriving in this world, Ark truly feels as if he has stepped into a fantasy kingdom. Ariana introduced Arky to her parents, the king and queen of the elves, Dylan and Glannis. Arky politely gave his usual calm introduction, but a second later, his jaw nearly hit the floor. He stared at Glannis in sheer shock. She looked so incredibly young that he honestly thought she was Ariana's little sister. To make things even more mind-boggling, he found out she was actually 245 years old. Elven genetics were truly terrifying. King Dylan, however, wasn't in a bubbly mood. He was actually quite upset. Ariana was only supposed to rescue their captured people, but instead, she went ahead and attacked a foreign king. Dylan sighed heavily, worried that this massive blunder could easily trigger a war between their nations. Seeing the tension, Arky stepped in to save the day. He calmly explained to Dylan that they had no choice. The human king was holding 2 elf girls whose lives were in immediate danger. Once Dylan learned the awful truth of what that king was doing behind everyone's back, his anger shifted. He realized he needed to quickly meet with the general lords to expose these secret crimes before things got worse. When the feast was finally served, Arky felt that familiar wave of panic. How was he supposed to eat without revealing his bare skull? Reading his mind, Dylan told Arky not to worry. It turned out the king and queen already knew his bizarre secret, that he had no flesh and was just a walking skeleton. Relieved, Arky took off his helmet and finally enjoyed a good meal. The next morning, Arky woke up and was greeted by his soon-to-be mother-in-law, Glannis. Looking at her, Arky couldn't help but think that the mother somehow looked even more stunning than the daughter. Meanwhile, Dylan and Ariana arrived at a secret cave where a group of elf mages were waiting. Standing together in a magical circle, they activated a massive teleportation spell. In a flash, they arrived at the grand meeting palace of Eleanor to meet the chief of elves. But while the heavy political meetings were happening, Arky was living his best life, basically going on a casual date with Ariana's mother, Glannis. As they walked, Arky noticed the village was absolutely packed with people. Glannis fondly explained that it used to be a bunch of separate small settlements, but over time, they all merged into this one giant, bustling village. Of course, a giant man in full armor stands out. The local elves stared at Arky with deep suspicion, making the air a bit tense. But the mood completely flipped when the little girl Arky had saved from Yidlin spotted him. She ran over, overjoyed to see her hero again, and excitedly wanted to show him around. Seeing a bunch of local girls suddenly clinging to Arky made Glannis a little jealous. Wanting to steal his attention back and test his worth, she challenged him to a duel. She firmly declared she wouldn't allow a weak man to stand by her daughter's side. The fight began, and a hilarious reality hit. Arky was completely outmatched. Glannis easily dominated him in a sword fight, proving that while Arky was a godlike master of magic, his physical sword skills were surprisingly basic. Meanwhile, Ariana met up with her sister and was shocked by whatever family gossip they shared. Later, after taking a nice, relaxing bath, Arky met with Dylan again. Dylan wanted to officially hire Arky to protect Ariana on her long journey to free the rest of the enslaved elves. However, the king admitted they were in a tight spot regarding payment, since Arky was already richer than the entire elven kingdom. Instead of gold, Dylan offered something far more valuable: information. He told Arky about a secret enchanted spring hidden deep near the great tree, created by the ancient lord himself. The waters were said to possess legendary healing magic capable of breaking any curse. Arky happily played along and accepted, keeping up the act since he still couldn't confess the truth about his skeletal body. But later that night, alone in his room, room, Archie started thinking deeply. What if his skeleton body really was just a curse? He desperately wanted to know what his real human face looked like. He knew high-tier uncursing magic, but using it on an undead body could be fatal, so he decided to test it safely on a tiny scale. He focused the magic on just a small part of his arm. To his absolute amazement, real human flesh and skin materialized. But the joy was short-lived. A moment later, the flesh vanished. He tried over and over again, but his body kept rejecting the human form. It felt like a stubborn, incredibly powerful spell was holding him back. The next morning, the group prepared to head toward the enchanted pond. To get there safely, they needed to find a way around the notoriously dense and dangerous forest. Despite the creepy woods ahead, Archie was secretly thrilled. He now had solid proof that he was a human under a curse, not a monster. They decided to stop by a local restaurant to grab a bite and map out a shortcut through the forest. But just as they were discussing their plan, the waitress walked up to their table with a very interesting look on her face. The waitress overhears their conversation and gasps, her face turning pale with worry. She begs them not to take the shortcut through the forest, warning them that the woods are haunted by a pack of deadly wolves. She tells them that a group of travelers has already been brutally attacked, but Ariana firmly decides to take the shortcut anyway. Time is running out, and she simply doesn't have a single second to waste. As they step into the dense, eerie forest, Ariana explains that these haunted wolves are highly unusual creatures. Despite being deadly, they are incredibly beautiful, and people hunt them for their rare, glowing veils. She softly mentions that it's a traditional custom to give this veil to an elven bride as a wedding gift, and since her own sister is getting married very soon, she desperately wants to bring home such a rare treasure. However, Ariana quickly adds that she doesn't want Archie risking his life just for a wedding present. Archie can see right through her. He notices how hesitant and shy she is to ask for his help, which only makes him more determined to find these wolves for her. But before they can take another step, the bushes rustle, and a pack of snarling haunted wolves ambushes them. It doesn't take long for Archie to realize a trick is at play. Most of these beasts are just illusionary shadows being cast by a massive, five-tailed alpha wolf. While Ariana busy herself fighting off the smaller shadow wolves, Archie charges straight after the five-tailed leader. As he closes in, something catches his eye. There is a strange, glowing ring clamped tightly onto the wolf's leg. It looks exactly like the control ring he saw on the giant frog Rex before. It all clicks in his head. These poor creatures are being mind-controlled by someone. Refusing to hurt an innocent animal, Archie aims a precise attack directly at the ring, shattering it into pieces. Free from the dark spell, the five-tailed wolf snaps back to its senses. It lets out a loud howl, calling back all its illusionary allies, and peacefully retreats deeper into the forest. When Ariana rushes over and sees the broken shards, she instantly recognizes it. It's the exact same sinister mind control ring. With the danger gone, Ariana happily collects the beautiful veil left behind by the wolves, thrilled that she finally has the perfect gift for her sister. Meanwhile, in another part of the country, tragedy strikes. A royal princess, her maid, and her guards are suddenly ambushed by a group of ruthless men dressed in black capes. The attackers show absolutely no mercy, slaughtering the soldiers, the maid, and finally the princess herself. Just as the assassins think they've succeeded, Archie suddenly teleports right into the middle of the bloody scene. In classic Archie fashion, he completely ignores the hell out of the stunned attackers. He doesn't even look at them. Instead, he rushes straight over to the fallen princess to heal her. The assassins panic and charge forward to stop him from bringing her back. But suddenly, a wild growl echoes through the trees. The five-tailed wolf has returned with his entire pack. Grateful for Archie saving him earlier, the Alpha and his gang leap into the fray, viciously keeping the attackers at bay so Archie can work his magic. Archie unleashes his high-tier resurrection magic. It's a miraculous spell that can pull someone back from the dead, provided their injuries aren't completely catastrophic. The holy light washes over the area, and the princess's wounds close up as her heart starts beating again. She briefly flutters her eyes open, catching a blurry glimpse of a giant armored knight performing miracles. Archie doesn't stop there. He quickly resurrects the loyal maid and then moves on to the fallen soldiers. He manages to save most of them, though a few were too fatally injured to be brought back. With his secret good deed done, Archie slips away and rejoins Ariana. They continue their journey without further delay, and soon arrive at the bustling capital city of Alina. As they walk through the streets, they notice a chaotic scene. A group of rough, adult men are ganging up on a young girl. Archie immediately reaches for his sword to help, but Ariana grabs his arm and stops him. She tells him to just watch, and sure enough, the young girl is more than strong enough to handle herself. With lightning-fast moves, she easily beats down the thugs all by herself. Once the dust settles, the girl turns around and walks straight up to Archie. Archie's eyes go wide as he recognizes her. It's the badass ninja girl from the kidnapper's hideout. She introduces herself as Chiyomi, a ninja from the Jean clan. She explains that she is on a dangerous solo mission to rescue her fellow beast men who have been stolen away by human traffickers. Needing a private place to talk, the trio heads over to a nearby inn. Sitting down over some privacy, Archie properly introduces himself and his cute spirit fox, Panta, while Ariana offers a warm introduction of her own, forming a brand new, powerful alliance. Chiyomi looks directly at Archie and asks if he would lend his incredible strength to help her rescue her captured beast people. As payment, she offers to share vital intel about the locations of the missing elves. But Archie is a man of honor. He points out that he is already bound by his contract to Ariana. The ball is in Ariana's court. Ariana hesitates for a moment, looking at the young ninja. When she learns that Chiyomi is just like her, someone who has been fighting to rescue her own people since she was just a child, Ariana's heart melts. With a warm smile, she officially agrees to the team up. With their new alliance forged, they head deep into the forest. Chiyomi leads them right to the belly of the beast, the largest underground slave market in the region, hidden beneath the trees. Inside the grim prison, the reality is heartbreaking. The captured beast people and elves are treated worse than criminals. To the greedy traders, these living beings are just goods to be sold for profit. Tragically, some have already lost their lives to the abuse. Chiyomi is desperate to free whoever is left alive, but she drops a heavy piece of news. The royal family is directly involved in this horrific business. The moment they launch an attack, the royal army will descend upon them. Because of the high risk, Chiyomi suggests a risky plan. Archie and Ariana must grab the slaves and make a fast exit, while she stays behind to face the army alone as a distraction. Archie just chuckles. He casually reminds her that he can use teleportation magic and has absolutely no intention of letting anyone get hurt. Chiyomi's jaw drops. 6 centuries ago, the legendary founder of her ninja village possessed that exact same teleportation magic. Realizing Archie is essentially a walking cheat code, Chiyomi beams with absolute joy. She rushes back to town and returns with a powerful ninja partner named Gomen, while the rest of her team sets up at their designated positions. Flipping the script, Chiyomi decides to put Archie's explosive power to use and assigns Archie and Gomen to cause the grand distraction at the main gates. Gomen and Archie march right up to the castle walls. Gomen smirks, using his earth magic to sprout 2 massive, pointy stone spikes on his shoulders. Together, Archie and Gomen smash right through the main doors like a pair of runaway freight trains. To make himself unstoppable, Gomen uses his signature ninjutsu to turn his entire body into solid steel. The guards strike him, but their weapons just shatter harmlessly against his skin. Watching this, Archie gets totally inspired. He scoops up a handful of regular pebbles from the ground and hurls them like supersonic bullets, knocking soldiers flat. Gomen follows up by summoning a forest of sharp stone pillars shooting up from beneath the earth. Archie is so incredibly impressed by the earth magic that he decides to copy it. But because Archie's magic stats are completely broken, his version accidentally multiplies Gomen's spell by 100, instantly filling the entire courtyard with a massive, terrifying maze of giant pointy pillars. Gomen can only stare in absolute shock at the overkill. With the guards completely panicking outside, Ariana and Chiyomi slip into the castle. As they sprint down the corridors, little Panta's ears perk up. They're being followed. Chiyomi doesn't even break her stride. She waves a hand sign.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Using special water ninjutsu to summon 2 fluid wolves that instantly leap forward and take down the pursuing soldiers. Not to be outdone, Ariana shows off her own formidable fire magic, unleashing a blast of heat so intense it instantly turns the next wave of soldiers to ash. They locate the central prison cells, quickly break the locks, and gather the grateful captives in one place. Ariana and Chiyomi rush back to the front gates to meet up with the boys, but there's a catch. Some of the slaves are still missing, likely locked away in a separate, hidden facility deeper inside. Gomen firmly tells them he will hold the gates alone against the approaching royal army, shouting for Archie and the girls to go rescue the rest. The group rushes into the secondary building and discovers a dark, hidden tunnel leading deep underground. Down in the shadows, they find several more cages packed with weakened captives. Archie and the others quickly break them out, but the victory feels heavy. In one of the back cells, Chiyomi stumbles upon the cold corpses of her fallen people. A deep, sorrowful silence fills the room. After evacuating every single survivor safely out of the castle, Archie remembers Gomen is still holding the line alone against the literal army. Archie runs back to join forces with his steel-body friend. Standing side by side, Archie and Gomen unleash a synchronized, catastrophic wave of earth magic. Giant pillars erupt violently from the ground, completely tearing the foundations apart, and entirely demolishing the corrupt royal castle into a pile of rubble. With the base erased from the map, Archie uses his gate magic to teleport Gomen and the tragic remains of the deceased slaves back to the safety of the forest. Gathering around the fallen beast people, Ariana steps forward. With a solemn, respectful expression, she uses her gentle fire magic to cremate them, sending their trapped souls off to a peaceful rest into the night sky. The next morning, Chiyomi brings Arki and Ariana to the hidden ninja village of Calicut. She bows deeply, thanking Arki from the bottom of her heart. She admits that without his incredible strength, they never would have been able to rescue the slaves from that fortified castle. Keeping her end of the bargain, Chiyomi shares the vital intelligence she gathered. It turns out the missing elves are being kept in the heavily guarded Holy Empire City, a place famous for using massive dragons and monstrous creatures as its personal security force. Wasting no time, Arki and Ariana set off toward the Holy Empire City to save the remaining captives. As they approach the territory, Arki looks up and sees actual, massive dragons soaring through the clouds. Instead of being terrified, he gets bursting with nerdy excitement. He has never seen real dragons before. However, Ariana points out a major problem. Those dragons are trained to hunt down strangers and will stop them from entering the city. To clear their path, Arki decides to casually get rid of the flying obstacles. He summons a massive storm filled with thick clouds and crackling thunder. A stray lightning bolt shocks the dragons, sending them flying away in a total panic. But Arki completely miscalculated the radius of his own spell. He accidentally zaps Ariana and poor little Ponta with a static shock. 2. He stands there totally oblivious while Ariana and Ponta glare at him with fried, poofy hair. To apologize for the accidental electrocution, Arki treats them to a nice meal at a nearby restaurant. Over food, Ariana pulls out a map. She explains that they will have to trek through treacherous marshlands and cross wide rivers to reach the Empire City. But a deep worry clouds her face. In the Holy Empire, capturing elves isn't considered a crime at all. She fears that the moment she steps inside, she will be hunted like prey. Suddenly, a male elf named Karsai casually walks into the restaurant. Fearing for his safety, Ariana panics and tries to hide his face, whispering frantically that elves should never show their pointed ears around humans. But Ariana's jaw drops when she realizes all the human patrons in the restaurant already know Karsai. They are waving, laughing, and being incredibly nice to him. Karsai, it turns out, is an eccentric researcher studying monster biology. He introduces himself and asks Arki and Ariana if they can help him capture a few powerful monsters for his research. To unwind, Arki buys a large barrel of local wine just for himself. But things take a hilarious turn when Ariana decides to take a few sips and gets completely wasted. She causes absolute chaos, screaming and running around the entire night while a sober, exhausted Arki tries to contain her. The next morning, they meet up with Karsai. Karsai smirks and mentions how surprised he was by the passionate screaming coming from their room all night, noting the entire town heard the noise. Ariana, now sober and dying of embarrassment, blushes furiously and looks like she wants to murder Karsai on the spot. As they climb onto Karsai's wagon, a foul, horrific stench hits Ariana's nose. She gags, learning that Karsai is hauling a pile of rotting goblin corpses to use as bait for a sandworm. To Arki, the word worm sounds like a tiny, harmless little garden bug. But Karsai quickly corrects his naive thinking, explaining that these sandworms are typically 6 meters long, stay underground during the day, and only surface at night to feed on corpses. Karsai notes they are weak to fire, but begs them not to use flames because he needs the specimen intact. Suddenly, the ground trembles. Ariana looks back and realizes the secondary wagon following behind them has completely vanished. The earth shatters, and a gargantuan, 40-meter-long sandworm erupts from the dirt, way bigger than the 6 meters Karsai promised. The monster spots one of Karsai's human assistants collapsed on the ground and lunges. Forgetting Karsai's warnings, a terrified Ariana rushes to rescue the man and unleashes a blast of fire magic straight at the beast. But to her horror, the flames bounce right off its thick hide. The creature is completely immune, leaving her frozen in fear as the giant worm snaps its jaws down toward her. But Arki is faster. With a heavy thud, Arki steps in front of Ariana and stops the colossal monster's bite with just one hand. In a mind-blowing display of raw, ridiculous strength, Arki grips the massive 40-meter beast, lifts its entire heavy body into the air, and slams it violently back into the dirt, knocking it out cold. Ariana, Karsai, and the assistants can only stare with wide eyes and open mouths, completely speechless at the absolute monster of a man standing before them. With the sandworm safely captured, a deeply grateful Karsai hands Arki exactly what they need, a detailed, bypass map straight to the Holy Empire City, and a rare research book containing everything there is to know about the world's monsters. As Arki and Ariana step through the gates of the Holy Empire City, they immediately notice that the guards and soldiers are on absolute high alert. The tense atmosphere makes them uneasy, so they decide to play it safe, taking a slow and steady approach to blend in and gather as much information about the missing elves as possible. Splitting up to cover more ground, Arki listens in on the local gossip. He learns that townspeople have been mysteriously vanishing into thin air, and terrifying, giant monsters have been spotted lurking around the city city borders more frequently. While heading back to meet up with Ariana, Archie spots a young woman being dragged into an alley by 3 sketchy men. In classic hero fashion, Archie steps in and casually thrashes the thugs, sending them running for their lives. The rescued woman, overcome with gratitude, clings tightly to Archie's polished armor to thank him. Right at that exact second, Ariana walks around the corner, seeing another woman practically glued to Archie. A flash of pure jealousy hits her. She stomps over and glares so fiercely at the poor girl that she scares her right out of the alleyway, making sure no one messes with her night. Meanwhile, those 3 failed kidnappers run back to their boss, a twisted monster tamer named Dumba, who goes by the codename Dumba. Dumba had ordered them to bring him human sacrifices to feed to his exotic pets. Since the thugs returned empty-handed, Dumba decides to feed them to the creatures instead, revealing a dark, massive basement hidden beneath his estate where he breeds bloodthirsty monsters. Unaware of the horror below, Ariana leads Archie to a suspicious property where she managed to dig up some intel. Sneaking inside, they discover a secret hidden door that leads straight down into a massive underground facility. The layout is terrifying. It features iron prison cells and a giant hall clearly designed to hold colossal beasts. Suddenly, Dumba steps out of the shadows. The moment his eyes land on Ariana, he gets incredibly excited by her beauty. Deciding he wants her for his own twisted collection, he smugly commands Ariana to get rid of Archie and become his submissive wife. Without warning, Ariana draws her weapon and aggressively lunges at Archie. Archie is completely bewildered, parrying her blows while trying to figure out what's wrong. Looking closely, he sees her eyes are completely glazed over. She's being mind-controlled. Archie quickly tries to cast his Hider Uncurse magic on her, but to his shock, the spell completely fails. Ariana keeps fiercely slashing at him, forcing him onto the defensive. After a few more failed magic attempts, Archie spots something tiny and suspicious wriggling beneath the hood of Ariana's cape. Seeing the target, little Pontus springs into action. The spirit fox leaps onto Ariana's shoulder and aggressively yanks out a nasty little magical imp that had been hiding in her clothes, casting the brainwashing spell. With the puppet master exposed, Ariana snaps back to reality. Dumba just laughs, thoroughly amused by Archie's skills. Boasting about his own power, Dumba brags that he is a supreme monster tamer who can dominate any creature alive, no matter how strong. Archie couldn't care less about his resume. He coldly demands to know what Dumba did to the kidnapped elves brought to this city. Dumba gives a sickening smirk, casually admitting that some elves were used as cruel magic experiments, while others were simply thrown into the cages as live feed for his hungry monster pets. Hearing this, a wave of absolute, burning fury washes over Archie. He loses all control of his temper. In one blindingly fast, rage-filled flash of his sword, he completely slices off the head of Dumba's giant pet cat monster. Dumba's smug smile vanishes. Enraged, he blows a whistle, summoning a horde of vicious monsters to tear Archie apart. But Archie is a walking god of war. He effortlessly cuts down wave after wave of beasts without breaking a sweat. When a massive ogre suddenly blindsides the group and lunges toward Ariana, Chiyomi drops down from the ceiling out of nowhere, slicing the monster apart and saving her friend. Dumba panics, frantically trying to summon the rest of his backup, but Chiyomi calmly gives him some bad news. She and her ninja squad have already swept through the entire facility and exterminated every single one of his hidden monsters. Suddenly, the entire underground facility begins to shake violently. Sensing catastrophic danger, Archie grabs both Ariana and Chiyomi, casting an instant short-range teleport to flash them safely outside the building just as the foundations shatter. A colossal, terrifying beast rises from the rubble, the Hydra. This legendary, 5-headed sea monster possesses top-tier water magic, but right now, it's completely under the dark control of the maniacal Dumba. Desperate for revenge, Dumba orders the Hydra to kill. The monster unleashes a colossal, crushing tidal wave of high-density water magic straight at Archie. Reacting instantly, Archie slams his shield down and casts an unbreakable magical barrier, completely absorbing the devastating blast. Dumba, blinded by his own arrogance, assumes the massive explosion wiped Archie off the face of the earth and excitedly orders the Hydra to turn its destructive wrath toward the helpless city. Ariana is absolutely shaking with rage. Hearing what this monster of a man did to her innocent people has pushed her past her limit, and she wants blood. She tells Archie they need to ignore the unstoppable Hydra for a moment and focus entirely on executing Dumba first, believing the 5-headed dragon is too powerful to defeat. But Archie just gives a confident smirk beneath his helmet. He assures her that while it might take a little bit of effort, he can absolutely slaughter this oversized lizard. As the massive beast stomps toward the city walls, Archie tests its defenses by firing a low-level dragon slash. The energy beam bounces off the Hydra's thick scales without leaving a scratch. Realizing he needs to stop fooling around, Archie teleports into the air, bashes the beast square in the face with his heavy shield to daze it, and follows up with a brutal, heavy sword strike that cleanly severs one of its 5 massive heads. The Hydra roars in agony and pure fury. Using its remaining heads, it lunges forward and wraps its massive body around Archie, attempting to crush him while unleashing 3 simultaneous blasts of devastating dragon's breath at points point-blank range. Archie doesn't even flinch. He deploys his holy shield, effortlessly reflecting the apocalyptic elemental blasts right back into the monster's own faces. Wanting to end the fight cleanly, Archie hovers in the sky and unleashes a legendary holy spell, summoning the Judgment Sword. A massive, glowing blade of pure light rains down from the heavens, cleanly lopping off all of the Hydra's remaining heads in a single, breathtaking strike. Archie lowers his sword, thinking the battle is over, but to his annoyance, the severed necks begin to bubble and sprout new heads. The Hydra is completely regenerating. Realizing this thing won't die by normal means, Archie decides to stop holding back and go completely all out. He channels an immense amount of forbidden mana and activates a high-tier gate, summoning a colossal, terrifying entity from the underworld, the Lord of Hell. The sky turns blood red as the massive demon lord steps into the mortal realm. The summon slams a barrage of earth-shattering, supernatural punches directly into the Hydra. Terrified by the overwhelming demonic aura, the once mighty Hydra turns tail and tries to slither away in a panic. But Archie flashes to the front line, grabs the colossal beast by its massive tail with his bare hands, and hurls the 40-meter monster high into the sky. High in the air, the Lord of Hell unleashes a wave of apocalyptic hellfire, burning the Hydra completely to ashes before it can cause a single ounce of chaos ever again. Down on the ground, Ariana corners the trembling, defenseless Dumba. Channeling all the pain and suffering of her fallen people, she unleashes her ultimate blue fire magic, completely engulfing the evil tamer in a pillar of righteous flames and burning him to dust. With the threat entirely erased, Archie cancels his summon and calmly walks back over to his companions. Ariana and Chiyomi can only stand there in absolute, jaw-drop silence, staring at Archie like he's an alien. They are utterly traumatized and amazed that this low-profile mercenary casually has the power to summon world-ending demon lords from another dimension just to settle a street fight. Shortly after the chaotic battle, a messenger bird arrives with major news from the Elven Kingdom. Princess Yuri has just held a historic meeting with the Chief of Elves, successfully negotiating a grand peace treaty. From now on, humans and elves are legally ordered to coexist in peace, meaning the horrific elven slave trade is officially banned. You would think Ariana would be ecstatic, but the news actually leaves her feeling a bit empty and displeased. Her life's sole purpose for years has been tracking down and rescuing her kidnapped people, and now, just like that, her long mission is suddenly over. There are no more trapped elves left for her to save. But as she looks over at Archie, she realizes she still has one very important job left to do. Now that her hands are free, Ariana turns all her focus toward helping her mysterious protector. She tells Archie it's time to head back to her kingdom. She is determined to lead him straight to the secret, enchanted magical pond she promised him, the one with the legendary healing water that can shatter any curse permanently. She smiles, genuinely excited at the thought that Archie will finally be able to wash away his skeletal form, get his human body back, and finally become normal again. And that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.